When we got the brother grades back, not only did he have straight C's, he had all A's and B's. That's what the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has shown me and inspired me to implement whenever I go inside of a classroom dealing with young students, or whenever I'm in a community just dealing with the youth.
And then even those teachings down to your attire are inspiring the children
Yes.
to improve their grades for the opportunity to wear a suit.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
amazing.
I was known for being the security guard that would be on campus with a suit on. So I still have my suit on with the security jacket over it. And it got to a point where children began coming inside of the guard shack is what I was in. So children would come in the guard shack and I started holding pretty much classes before they went to classes. Education is one of the most important cultivating aspects that any of us can engage in, male or female. So when it comes to the cultivation of our children, man, I think that needs to be balanced as well, male and female, men and women need to be involved.
Welcome back to Midwest League Podcast. I'm Ladina and I'm here with
Brother Thomas.
Welcome, Brother Thomas. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for having me.
So, can you tell us a little bit about what you do? You have a lot of titles and I don't want to get any of them wrong.
Yes, ma'am. Well, first and foremost, I'm a father, husband, father of 5, husband, educator, consultant, author, and striving hard the best way that I can to be a great reflection of someone who is a follower of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, so
That's it.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
So, can you tell me a little bit about your journey in being an educator?
So yes, ma'am. So initially, I started off in education just as security. I was working security at Tech High School.
Okay.
And when I was working at Tech High School, in my humble opinion, this is 2015, so 11 years ago, Tech was maybe the most off-the-chain public school in the city.
Wow.
And you know, Tech has a large campus, so
Right.
as a security, I was working security with our own independent security firm, Nation One Security.
Yes, sir.
And so we would be charged with striving to keep children on campus, right? Because at Tech, there's so many outlets to the street. And I was known for being the security guard that would be on campus with a suit on. So I still have my suit on with the security jacket over it. And it got to a point where children began coming inside of the guard shack is what I was in. So children would come in the guard shack and I started holding pretty much classes before they went to classes. So I gained this reputation on Tech's campus, and at the time they had a black principal by the name of Larry Yarrow. And at some point during the school year, some children, before they went to class, their teachers would call the guard shack and have the children speak with me so that I can convince the children to go to class.
Wow.
And so word got back to Mr. Yarrow that I actually wanted to be in education. And so he sent someone to the guard shack one day to come and ask me on my lunch break if I'll come to his office. So on my lunch break, I went to his office. We had a conversation. And after the conversation, he said that, I heard you want to actually be in education. And I said, yes, sir. So he said, give me a second. He called down to the IPS building while I was in his office and asked, what do I have to do to, hire a young man who I really think would be a good fit inside of the school? And he asked me right there on the spot if I wanted a job.
Wow.
And I asked him, I said, well, Mr. Yarrow, can I get 2 weeks? Because I want to make sure that my brother can get someone to cover the shift that I work. And from March of 2015, I've been in education ever since. So from a security guard to a hall monitor, I would just monitor the hallways, trying to get children to go back to class. From a hall monitor to an IA, an instructional assistant, right? And by God's permission, I began sharing an office with one of the assistant principals. Right? This is how God works.
As an IA.
As an IA slash security, slash hall monitor, I started sharing an office with an assistant principal. And we built a relationship, and they would always tell me, man, you have an it factor. And of course, I'm just striving hard to do what I love. Like, I genuinely love education. So the assistant principal, his contract wasn't renewed. So he asked if I would be interested in coming to the school that he was actually going to be at as a principal. And it was a no-brainer to me. And so once I got to that school, I had written down a goal sheet. And my goal sheet was I want to teach at the high school level, the middle school level, and elementary level, because I wanted to study what a gap widens between children having aspirations and then children wanting to just be athletes and entertainers. So I worked in all three, high school, middle school, and elementary. And the last actual job where I had to be inside of a school 5 days a week, I was working, but I was always getting asked to do public speaking. So I would use my PTO. And at the end of the year, myself and the chief of staff sat down, and she asked me, you have your own company, right? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, well, let's do this. Let's negotiate some type of contract where you don't have to use your PTO and you could just be an independent contractor. Have you ever thought about being one? I said, no, ma'am. She said, well, I'll help you. Now, this is a sister who's just seen something in me that was helping me get into learning how to structure a contract as an independent contractor. And by Allah's permission, I negotiated, quote unquote, she helped me, but I negotiated a contract where I only had to be in school for 3 days a week, only 4 hours a day, and I was paid a salary that was 3 times more, all off of building up a reputation that
Praise
followed
be
me
to
everywhere I
Allah.
went. So
That's
for the
amazing.
last really 4 years, I've been doing consulting now with different school building leaders, striving to help them and their educators build a stronger rapport with the student body.
So, as you were on your journey to discover where the gap widened, what did you find?
So there was a documentary that came out on Netflix years ago called 13. And in the documentary, it highlights that third grade is usually when that gap begins to widen, right? And I was able to see that as a classroom teacher. So I taught third grade, right? When I was about to, I had the option of teaching in a classroom. The individual that asked me said, look, I got 2 positions. You could teach 6th grade or 3rd grade. And it was after watching that documentary, maybe weeks prior, I said, oh, I'll teach 3rd grade. Not knowing that as the new teacher with no experience, who you think they're going to put in my class? All of the heavy hitters.
The ones you needed, the ones that
All of
needed
the,
you.
all of the heavy hitters. So I had a class of 23 children. Initially, I had 19 boys and only 4 girls. And so maybe the second week after I started teaching and the children were gravitating toward the way that I taught, the girls on their own, because I taught self-advocation. The girls advocated for themselves and said, we want more girls in the class. So instead of 19 and 5, it just turned to 17 and 6. That's it. And out of those 23 children, 17 were reading be at least 1 or 2 grades below grade level. 3 were approaching grade level, and roughly only 2 or 3 were at grade level or above. So out of 23 children, 17, which only leaves 6 other ones, 17 were at least 1 or 2 grades below grade level. Now, this is 3rd grade. And so what I would do going into the classroom, my first day I remember, I would ask every child who was their favorite artist. And at that time, they were naming artists like G Herbo and Chief Keef and a few more artists. And I put them all on the board. And I told them, I say, well, I want you all to know that everything that you love about these artists, you actually have it in yourself.
Right.
And I'm going to strive to do everything that I can to pull it out of you this year. Y'all go join me. We had made a pact. And they said, yeah, we're going to join you. Now, it was hard as heck to pull it out of them. But I wanted to use what they were familiar with and incorporate it in the curriculum that I was being paid to implement as well. And so it was that 3rd grade that I saw, usually when asking a child what they desire to be in life, they had grand aspirations. I want to be an attorney. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a physicist. I want to be a firefighter. And then really from 3rd grade to roughly 4th grade, somehow it
That's
turns
when it
into,
changes.
I want to go to the NBA.
Oh,
I want to play football. And so one day, Sister Ladina, my word is bond, I asked teachers if I can get 2 of their students. So the way that this school was separated, grades 3 through 6 were upstairs and grade kindergarten through 2nd was downstairs. So I taught upstairs, and I asked teachers from 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade if I can come to their classrooms and just do a poll. And I took my students with me. So we went around the school once they agreed, and I was asking the teachers to, can I ask your students what they want to be when they grow up? And lo and behold, we found out that was exactly how it happened. When we went to the 4th grade class, we had mainly athletes and entertainers. 5th grade, athletes and entertainers. 6th grade, athletes and entertainers. And when we went downstairs, K through 2, we had all doctor, lawyer, superhero. Right? So 3rd grade was when I discovered that gap beginning to widen.
So why do you think that is? Is there a certain emphasis on sports that happens in 4th grade?
And
Sports don't start that early,
yeah,
right?
well, some school sports, so yeah, because
Okay.
I think I told you earlier, my son and I, that's why I'm dressed like this. We were coming from a basketball game. I was coaching, and he plays a 4th grade team. He's in 3rd grade, so his school doesn't have a basketball team, but he plays on a travel team.
Okay.
However, they were playing school ball teams. The school ball team that we played today was a 4th grade team. And so schools start basketball around 4th grade, and a lot of times that's when you get the noticing how athletic a child is and how they're athletically inclined to a certain sports. And sports aren't bad at all. Sports offer principles that really help us in life if we pay attention to the principles more so than the performance on the court or on the field. But I'm unable to say for sure, but in my humble opinion, I just think that there's a level of emphasis placed on sports by the community around that 9, 10
And
age
even
range.
maybe wanting to impress or entertain parents and family members, because you may get family members to show up to a football game
For sure.
and they might not show up to a spelling bee
That's a
or
fact.
a recital or something
That's
like
a fact.
that. So it could be it's starting there and not even with the child.
And I had this conversation the other day with a business partner that I have by the name of Keelan Mark, Brother Keelan. I shouted you out, Brother Keelan. But we're doing a series, and really we're on a mission, right? The series we're doing is called The Dad Difference. And DAD is an acronym. It's broken up into discipline, athletics, and academics, I forget what the other D is. Forgive me, Brother Keelan. And then the S is sacrifice, right? So discipline, athletics, and academics. I think determination and sacrifice. And these are all of the principles that fathers or dads have to implement if we're going to begin to raise strong children, right? Not just young males, but females as well. So there's a well-known quote by Frederick Douglass that says that it's easier to build strong what? Children than to repair broken men. And so therefore, if we're going to be engaged in building strong children, dads have to be involved in this academic process as well. But I would also say, going back to your point, that we're more adept to going to the sporting event than we are the spelling bee. When I was having a conversation with Brother Keelan the other day, some came to mind. I said, man, usually that happens because that's where we, specifically as Black people, see greatness and dominance on a consistent basis. Usually when we're achieving greatness in areas that require high intellect, we're treated as an anomaly.
Right.
We are the first to do this.
Right.
We're the first to achieve.
And that's the only part that gets celebrated.
That's the
after
only-
the first one, they don't
even
highlight
celebrate
it.
the
Right.
rest who came after
Right.
and make it something that's normal. But yet when it comes to dominance on the field or dominance on the court, whether that's a basketball court, tennis court, even ice, hockey, right? Our dominance is accepted there because we're taught that that's what we can be dominant at. But Negro, if you strive to dominate intellectually, that's where you become a threat, and that's where you'll get in trouble with.
Not only will we not celebrate it, but we will try to break you for it.
We'll actually shun it.
Right. What do you feel like following the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad how has it influenced your path as an educator?
It has allowed me, based on his example, it has allowed me to know that not many of us are so far gone or beyond reproach, especially when we're dealing with children. Everything is a learned behavior. Right? The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to those who may not know his story, because everyone doesn't know who the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad only went to the 4th grade. He didn't complete the 4th grade. And so he was still a man that had the ability to learn and retain the information that he was given from God who came in person. And through retaining that information, and not just retaining it, but having the courage to apply it, he built the Nation of Islam. So if a man who went to the 4th grade, many say 3rd grade, but he went to the 4th grade, didn't complete it, and at 33 years of age began learning. You don't hear me?
Praise
At
be to the Lord.
33, if you meet a person with a 4th grade education right now at 33, most of us are writing that person off. But the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad at 33 years of age still began the process of submitting to a teacher that gave him supreme wisdom, that he was able to build a whole nation that still stands in 2025. So when looking at a student, even if a student, I'll use an example, at a school, and I still have a deep relationship with this student to this day. I don't want to mention his name, but he was suspended over 20 times in the 4th grade. I met him in 5th grade. He was suspended over 20 times. And so when I met him, the way I met him, he was cursing a teacher out so cold, Sister Ladina, you don't hear me. Like, he was using profanity in a professional manner. I'm talking about putting them together, putting the words together so eloquently. But yet, he was only, at the time, maybe 11. And so I didn't even mention this during my journey. I was on the behavior team as well. You know, black man, nation, you almost stereotyped. He's on the behavior team. He can get them together. But by Allah's permission, I built a relationship with the young brother. And over the course of 1 year, one school year that is, as our relationship began to get stronger, he started striving to mimic the way that I was dressing. Because I always went to work in a suit and tie, always. And so they had to wear uniforms at school. But sometime he would come in a suit. You know, his suit was too big. You know what I mean? Somebody may have got it from the Goodwill or something, but he was striving. And so he sat down, him, myself, and one of the assistant principals sat down and negotiated with him. We said, listen, if you get all C's, because he was a straight F student. Say if you get all C's, now we ain't striving to get you all A's right now. We got to crawl before we walk. If you get all C's, a 2.0, on Fridays, we'll let you wear your suit.
Oh.
No, Sister Ladina, my word is bond. Do you know this school, they would have a pep rally or assembly. They would have an assembly that honored their, what they call leaders. Mm-hmm. So they gave children leader jackets. These were children that were displaying leadership skills and had high GPAs. And this school would invite the community to come watch. And so I'm gonna say the school because it was Global Prep Academy. And so Global Prep, they have a large Latino population. Mm-hmm. So their families would be there. It would be packed. So they had this assembly. It was the last assembly of the year. And the last name they called was this little brothers. Do you know they gave him a 3-minute standing ovation?
Oh, that's so sweet.
I had to walk out the gym because I literally went to the restroom and started tearing up. And when we got the brother grades back, not only did he have straight C's, he had all A's and B's.
Wow.
Complete honor roll. And so what it shows is that redemptive quality that's inside of us as human beings, especially inside of children. So to answer your question, that's what the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has shown me and inspired me to implement whenever I go inside of a classroom dealing with young students, or whenever I'm in a community just dealing with the youth.
And then even those teachings down to your attire are inspiring the children
Yes.
to improve their grades for the opportunity to wear a suit.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
amazing.
A suit. Didn't know a suit could be so powerful, right?
So the stereotyping that they were doing for you being FOI was actually valuable because it influenced your trajectory. I'm sure they believed in what you could do because of the way that you showed up.
And I jokingly say stereotype. It's real too.
It is.
Because oftentimes whenever we hear the phrase, we need more men in school, oftentimes, I'm not just saying every time, oftentimes those men are looked at as we need security in school. Mm-hmm. Just like in the house, the home, a balanced home needs a man who's there to be an example to show his boy how to evolve into a man that supersedes his level of functioning, and also shows a young girl, man, how does a man treat my mother? Mm-hmm. I need to see how a man's supposed to treat a woman.
Right.
Likewise in the school, because the school in its essence is to be a reflection of what the home is to look like, right? Because the school is supposed to be an extension of the home, a good school. And so whenever the phrase that more men need to be in school is put out there, oftentimes it's to bring that balance, right? So when I was at that school, it was a level of balance that came based off reputation at first, just being a member of the FOI, but then also seeing that I don't use being an FOI as just as a badge, right?
Right.
I strive, and I strive to be an example of what the FOI represents, right? And so at the same school, I got hired I remember I got hired in January, and in February, before I was leaving for Savior's Day, children would be walking down the hall. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Thomas. Both males and females, right? So it. I'm unable to articulate the power that the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has had on my life, and it's through his example, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
I think that when they say that they need security, they maybe don't even know how to identify the parts or the type of training that's coming into play, the principles that are coming into play. It's not just security, but because you are embodying those principles, you are delivering a different kind of example to the students.
Striving.
Yes, sir.
Striving to embody the principles.
So how does being a dad impact your role as an educator as well?
Because I always have on my mind, how would I want someone treating my children?
Right.
Always. And I know, so our children were homeschooled initially, right? Our younger children. And before we sent them to any school, we had trepidation,
I can imagine.
had so much anxiety,
Right.
because we can control our environment. But once I send you out to the world, I could be sending you out to the wolves. And so our children, before they went to the school that they're at now, they went to a charter school that has a network, and we were nervous. And we always have been heavily involved in our children's education. And so whenever we would pick them up, maybe around the third week of school, we start hearing children tell our children peace as they were leaving out. So we said, okay, our children
brought
are
our
having
world
more,
with them.
our children are having more of an effect on them than they are on our children. But then also, our children will come home, we see that, hey, they got an effect on you somehow too. But it was a great training ground for learning to trust the training that we've been provided. Really learning to trust God.
Right.
Because if I say that I wholeheartedly believe in Allah God, and I'm going to put my family in your hands, and I'm unable to just continuously have anxiety and be worried whenever my family are out of my scope of vision, right? So when they did good there, they were there for a year and a half. When they did good in this particular network, that's when we decided that we'll put them in the present school that they're in. And because they have a level of knowledge of themselves as the foundation, then they are able to they're able to advocate for themselves. They're able to function with a level of belief in themselves that isn't shaken by the dominant population being other than them.
Right.
Caucasian.
Right. So you were saying that DADS is an acronym and the S is for sacrifice.
Yeah.
So talk to me about what that looks like and how you encourage other dads to have an understanding about sacrifice.
So sacrifice is time, sacrifice is energy, sacrifice is finances, sacrifice is language, right? Because when I say time, most of the time as men, right, we're looked at to be providers. We're looked at to be individuals who are maneuvering in this world to strengthen our finances. So it takes away from our time. But yet, whenever we have the time to just email an educator and introduce ourselves, whenever we're able to take our time out of our day to physically introduce ourselves to an educator, if we're able to pick our children up, like all of this is time being sacrificed, and that time shows our children that dad cares about this part of my life as well.
Right.
Right? And then finances. Right? It's not everybody doesn't necessarily have children who go to schools where you have to pay tuition, but yet finances is investing in that child. So I use this example. I was having a conversation just yesterday about this subject. I'm talking about this subject a lot. And the same way that we invest in trainers for our children, a tutor is just an academic trainer.
Right.
So even if my child isn't behind and I want my child to advance, I can invest in an academic tutor or academic trainer, a tutor, for my child just to get them ahead and not wait until they're behind needing the tutor to catch up. Right, so that's where finance could come into play. Investing in certain camps. Right, one thing that I've been able to see by Allah's permission is how people in different demographics, socioeconomic demographics, I would say, their camps that they may send their children to are camps that are meant to cultivate the child, even if it's a rowing camp, if it's a soccer camp, right? These camps still have principles attached to them that are meant to help cultivate this child. Maybe it's strengthen the child's belief in themselves, strengthen their confidence, strengthen their ability to work with a team, strengthen their ability to communicate with individuals outside of the individuals that they're comfortable with, advocate for themselves. So that's where the investment comes in financially, right? Then sacrifice as it relates to language, I was saying. Sometimes we have to continuously improve ourselves and how we communicate to show our children how to communicate with the individuals that they're around most of the day, who are their educators, right? So our children have been given permission that if you don't agree with something that your educator says to you, let them know you don't agree with it. Always be respectful. And if they take your respect as disrespect, that's on them. Then they can come and talk to mom and dad. But always advocate for yourself and use language where you can make your point clearly.
Right.
So those are part of the sacrificing that comes from the dad's perspective.
So it sounds like you take care to find ways to compare or like illustrate your points through academics and comparing it to athletics. Have you found success in getting people or fathers, at least the fathers you're working with, to strive to work on academics?
So far, it's a long journey. Right? So success isn't measured. So the success that we've been seeing is just fathers even wanting to listen, right? Then the next level of success that we want to measure is how are you implementing what you just listened to.
Right.
So myself and my partner had a back to school meeting strictly for dads. So it was a back to school event. Most of the time when we hit back to school, it's providing children with backpacks. It's, doing things for children. But we wanted to just host fathers because it's a back to school for you as well.
Right.
Your child going to school.
Right.
And so we gave them a toolkit to implement, and it was on a Friday. The following Monday, I received a text from a brother who was saying that I just wanted to let you know that Man, I went to introduce myself to my son calculus teacher. I had no idea who he was, right? And it's just small things like that. We should know who are as a man. And we talk about all these things a man should be able to do. Nah, a man should know who's the principal at my child's school, who's the superintendent in my child's district, who's the administrators, right? I need to talk to the movers and shakers inside of my school, my son or daughter's school, inside of their school district. And so that's one of the success stories. We've been having testimonials as well.
If you were to give a dad 3 key tips, what would they be?
For fatherhood or for education?
In terms of taking the steps to be more involved in school.
In school. So the first thing I would encourage a father to do is what I just stated. Go and introduce yourself, because oftentimes when information is being relayed from the school to the home, it's automatically given to the mother.
Right.
You know, we held a session at the IBE Education Conference back in June, myself and his brother Keelan Mark. And in our session, it was the most attended session. And toward the end of the session, there was an administrator in the session that raised their hand and asked a question as to, you know, how are we supposed to help when, you know, dads aren't being intentional with getting involved? I said, okay, whenever it comes to registering for school, which all children, all families have to do, a lot of schools use I think it's called Power School. Some use Canva or Canvas. They use all these different programs. Mm-hmm. Usually the information that they ask for is mom's information. Well, mom usually gives the information. And once mom gives the information, the next emergency contact is probably grandma. Next emergency contact, auntie. It's like, man, what dad? What dad? And even if mom and dad aren't involved, as a school, are you intentional with asking, is it okay if we reach out to dad? Can we also have dad's contact? Mm-hmm. So the school has to be intentional with getting dad involved. But if I can encourage fathers to just call up to the school and introduce yourself to the front desk. The front desk staff is really where the relationship needs to be built, because that's where you get in the door. That's where you get in the door. Then once you introduce yourself to them, send an email. If we don't have the time, send an email to that educator. And if you don't know the educator, call mom. And if you are in a situation where mom and dad is together, let mom know that I need my sons or daughters' educators' information. I want to send an email. But we have to be intentional with building a relationship. Mm-hmm. Step 2 would be go up to the school one day out of the month. It doesn't have to be for a full hour. Go up there one day out of the month for 30 minutes and ask how you can assist. Is there a way to volunteer? Is there a way that you can engage in their daily activities to build a relationship with the school? Then number 3, I would say always have a conversation with the children, just asking them, how was your day at school? What did you all work on? Even if the answers are real quick. My day was okay. We did the same thing we did yesterday. Okay, I need to know what did you do yesterday?
That needs to be the toolkit. Like questions that they can't give short answers to.
Yeah. And if they give short answers, just continue to parse the answer that they provided. Gotcha. So if they give an answer, how was your day, son? My day was okay. What was the best part of your day, son? When I was doing such and such. And what made that the best part of your day? What did you enjoy about doing such and such? So we can pull it out of them as well. Mm. But we don't want to put it all, we don't want to make education a feminine thing. Right? Education is one of the most important cultivating aspects that any of us can engage in. male or female. So when it comes to the cultivation of our children, man, I think that needs to be balanced as well, male and female, men and women need to be involved.
So tell us, when is your next workshop or meeting that fathers can attend to kind of get some of these tips from you and your partner?
So we've been doing a bi-weekly series called The Dad Difference, and we do that via Zoom, right?
Okay.
So if you go to on Instagram at Brother Thomas X or at BRO Thomas X, if you go on Facebook, Thomas X Williams, and you inbox me, we can make sure that you get the link to be a part of these bi-weekly events. Also, you can catch us on many of the media platforms that we're on. I thank you for bringing me on this platform, allowing me to be able to promote such a, I think, worthy mission. So we have many other platforms that we'll be on promoting the same thing. But those are the two primary ways to get in contact with me: via Instagram, that's BROTHOMASX, or Facebook, Thomas X Williams. DM me, send me a message. We'll make sure you get the information to be tapped in, as we say.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk with us
Yes,
today.
ma'am. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
This episode is brought to you by No Sugar Added Natural Juice. Get your cold pressed juice today.